Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to understand the automation framework from the beginning. So first of all, you need to understand what is automation framework. So automation framework is used to maintain your project in a simple manner. That means you will be maintaining some reusable components. That means there is a proper folder structure available which will be used to make your project easy. What does that means? Means, for example, if I wanted to develop some reusable component, let us say I wanted to log into one application, I wanted to create new customer, and then I wanted to log out of the application. So if you look at here in this functionality, you're having login functionality, you call it as login method, new customer method, and then logout method. Similarly, there is another test case where you will be having login to the application, edit the customer, and then logout. Similarly, you have one more functionality, login and then search the customer, and then you will delete the customer, and then you will log out. So if you look at login and logout method are common in all these test cases. Assume this is your test scenario 1, or else your test case 1, test case 2, and test case 3. So in these three test cases, I'll call it as login and logout. Both of them are reusable methods. That means if you write these methods one time, you can make use of these and call them wherever it is required. And also, for example, you have, like, whenever you do manual testing, you are going to capture the test evidence, you are going to capture or take screenshots, right? So if you write a method or a function which can be called wherever it is required, so that is also called a reusable method, which we call it as a generic method. So there are two categories of methods. One is generic method and another one is application specific reusable methods. So app specific reusable methods. So all these things will be there in your automation framework. So first of all, you need to understand how your automation framework structure will look like. So what will happen is, whenever you are working with automation framework using Selenium WebDriver, generally you will be having all the page objects required for the projects and all the common things like utilities, or what are all the utilities you are going to make use. So those things will be there. So when I say utilities, you might be using Excel files, and also you might be using some configurations, you might be using some uh, reporting. All those things will comes as part of your utilities. So similarly, I'll just let you know at a high level your reporting and then logs. These are all utilities which can be used across multiple projects. What are all those things we will see now? Okay, so don't worry about any of those. And also there will be configuration files, configuration folders or configuration files. So what will happen whenever you are trying to do the configuration like pom.xml, which we are going to make use using in our Maven project, and also you will be using the property file for log property log4j properties file, and also you will have config.properties file. So don't worry if you don't understand any of these files, we are going to see all of them in a detailed manner. So as of now, you just need to understand how your automation framework will look like. Your automation framework will consist of page objects, utilities, and configuration files. And after that, you will have your test cases. You will be having your test cases, and also you will be either running the project using TestNG or POM.xml. So pom.xml file will have the dependencies for the project. So these are all the major things which will be there in any of the automation framework. Let us say I'm going to show you one example. Let me take this example. I'm taking this application and I wanted to do the automation for this particular project. So let's say I don't have any user ID. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my user ID here. Just click on that and provide your username and password. Then click on submit button. You will be getting your user ID and password for this application. Let's say this is my user ID and the password is this. Now what I wanted to show you is I will create one Maven project. So how do you create a Maven project? Go to your Eclipse file and then new. You can directly create new Maven project. If at all, if it is not available here, you go to other and then you go to Maven and then select the Maven project and click on next button. So once you click on next button, then again you click on next and then you will be writing here. You have to search for Apache hyphen archetype hyphen quick start. So you will be able to see, let's go to org.apache maven archetype quick start. So you have to select this one. So org.apache maven archetype. So just see this version you are going to select and click on next button. So once you are done with it, you have to give the project name. So I'm giving the project name as e-banking and then you give the artifact name also as same and then click on finish. Once you click on that, then you will be able to create your project, Maven project. So you already know what is the difference between Maven project and our Java project. So generally what will happen when we do with a Java project, so you have to add the dependencies manually. That's the reason if you use Maven project, you can take the dependencies directly from the pom.xml. See here, whenever you're creating the project like this, if you are getting this kind of error and if you don't see the project is not getting loaded, see here at the end it will ask whether you wanted to continue with interactive inactive mode. Just put y and then plus enter, then automatically your project will be built and you will be able to see the project e-banking. So once you see the project, you will go there and there will be two folders, src main java and then src test java. So both of them will have the default packages. We don't want the default packages, just delete them. And then you can see the Maven dependencies is also here. And then you will have src main and then srt test. So generally we will be creating our tests in src test and the development team will create their scripts in the src main. Okay, and what we are going to do is we will first build the project structure and then we will look at the pom.xml file. So first of all, I'm going to create the project structure how it will look like. So before I go here, first I wanted to create some packages. So what are all the packages we wanted to give? So those I'm going to do it as, okay, let me create all the required projects packages for my project. Okay, how do you do that? Right click, package, new, go to new package, and then here you are going to write com dot the project name dot page objects. Whatever the packages of objects you want, you can put them under this package. So I'll tell you what are all the page objects consist of, and I'm going to create one more. Go to new and then package, and I'm going to create one more for test data, and then I'm going to create one more for test cases. Package com dot, here you'll be having test cases, and finally I wanted to have one more, that is utilities, okay, which are used for common utilities, and then click on finish. So now once you create all the required packages for your project, what you have to do is you need to have one more thing, that is related to the folders which are required for the project. So assume that we are going to create, we are going to have all our drivers in the project itself. Let's create a folder called driver drivers and click on finish. So we will keep all the required drivers for the project in the drivers folder. And also we wanted to create one more folder called screenshots. Screenshots. Create those, and after that you need to have one more folder called configuration. So we will go one by one, don't worry. First try to understand how we are doing each step. Okay, so now once you click on this, now let me explain you the simple steps. What are we going to do with to complete our automation project? So you need to understand couple of steps before we do any automation. For example, if I wanted to do this automation, first and foremost thing, I wanted to, what I have to do is I have to create one Maven, create new Maven project. That is the first step I have done. And then folder structure. I have created the required folder structure. And then what I have to do is I have to do, I have to add all the dependencies, add the dependency to pom.xml file. That is the third step. That means you are going to update the pom.xml file. And then you will be create the basic test case. You're going to create the basic test case, and then you will add log details. That means you are going to report it. And after that, what you're going to do is you will read the common values from the config file. What is that? We will see. Okay. So common values from the config file. And then you can run your test case, run the test on various browsers. For example, you can run it on Chrome, you can run it on Firefox, you can run it on Internet Explorer also. And then you will have extend report. There is an option to generate your report. So you'll be doing extend report. And finally, you are going to do data driven testing. And once you understand these steps, then you can add as many test cases as you want. That means first time when you create for the first test case, you are going to follow these steps, and at that time only you'll have to spend a lot of time. But after that, once you create this, then your job is easy. We will see all these steps one by one. Okay. So let me go and show you the folder structure we have already created, and then we have created all the required folders. Now you go to your drivers and put the drivers, whatever the drivers you have loaded. Let me go to the drivers, whatever I have in my system, and then I'll take the drivers and then put it into that folder. Okay, so I'm going to put my Chrome driver, and then I'll copy my other drivers. If at all any, you will have to save them here. I just added only Chrome driver, so we will add Firefox and other drivers at a later point of time. So you just copy and paste it here automatically, that will get saved. And now if I go to pom.xml, you see this is the skeleton or the structure of pom.xml file. So these are all built in, you no need to change anything. If you see, there is a section called dependencies. Here you are going to add all the respective dependencies. So first of all, I wanted to add all the dependencies for Selenium Java related uh, files I have to add. So what do you mean by Selenium Java? If at all I wanted to add anything, so what I have to do is I have to go to the browser, and then there I have to write Maven repository. You go to this website, under this you will have to type here Selenium Java, and then click on Selenium Java. So once you click on that, you just go to the latest version, and whichever is frequently used, see the number of usages, just take the one which was used mostly and click on 4.7.2. There you will be looking at the dependency. Just copy and paste it into the project. So see here, under Maven, you don't have any other dependencies. Once you place it here, and then if you save, then automatically the respective jars will be loaded. So this is the advantage of using pom.xml file. Now I have added Selenium related stuff. And then now what I wanted to do is I wanted to add testNG. TestNG also I wanted to delete. Just go here, testNG, and then enter. There you will be able to see the testNG related dependency. Just take the latest one, 7.6.1 you can take. Just go back and 7.6.1. Copy this code and then paste it here and save it. And also you will need pom.xml also, because you wanted to do, or you wanted to read the data from Excel. That's the reason you need pom.xml. Go here, you can type Apache POI, just press enter, then you will be able to see Apache POI here. Just go and take the latest one and then copy paste it here. So I hope you understand what are all the dependencies we have downloaded. So these are all the reports, the dependencies required for now. So we will add the rest of the things later point of time. So if you look at, if you go to Maven dependencies, you will see all the dependencies, whatever we have loaded, that got loaded here. So generally what happens whenever you create any project using your normal Java project, what you're going to do is you are going to right click, you are going to build path, and then configure build path, and then you will be adding the libraries manually. But here you no need to add these libraries by add external jars. You no need to do this activity manually. This will be taken care by your pom.xml file. So this is the first step we are going to do when you are trying to work with your Maven project. Now what I wanted to tell you is I wanted to show you the application, and then I'll tell you how do we write the basic program. So first of all, I wanted to go to the application, and then I will show you what is that functionality I'm going to automate. For example, user ID, password, and then login button. So I wanted to test this particular functionality. So to do that, first I need to go to login com.ebanking page objects, and I wanted to add all the elements which I am going to make use for that particular test. So first I'll go here, right click, and then new class. Once I go here, my page name is login page dot java, and then click on finish. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all the required elements for this particular page. So how do I add that? So you guys know how to add the elements for that particular page. So for that, what you have to do is you just need to understand how to identify the element. So if at all you know how to identify the elements, you just need to go to the application and then right click, and then you go to the application, right click, and then inspect, and then you will be able to see the properties of that particular element. See here, this one you just select and then click on here, user ID, name, user ID, and for password, if you take, it will be name, password, and if you wanted to do it for login, then it will be login, and then what is that? That is a button, right? So you just click on this, and then you will see the button property. Let me have it correctly. See here, input type, submit, name is login button. So this is how you will recognize the element. So you have to write the steps for the same thing. So before you go and write, first you have to write the login page class. So once you write that, first you will be defining the web driver. Let's say it is my local driver. I am making it as web driver. L driver stands for local driver. Just see, you have to import the respective files. So just put the cursor there, then automatically it will ask for what are all the things needs to be imported. So import WebDriver jar files. So once you imported, first and foremost step, what you have to do is you have to create the constructor. So how do you create the constructor? Constructor name and class name must be same. Login page, WebDriver, WebDriver. I'm going to pass one more driver, R driver, that is remote driver. My L driver is equal to R driver. So that means I am going to initialize the value. That is what we have to do as a first step. And then since we are using page object method, what you have to do is you have to make use of page factory class. So page factory class, page factory dot page factory dot int elements, and then you are going to write the R driver, and then you have to make use of this keyword. So we already know what is the purpose of this. So once that is done, what you have to do is you have to identify the elements. So how do you write the program for that? So for that, what you have to do is you have to write at the rate find by, and then you are going to write name is equal to UID. That is what we have seen for user ID. You just put it under double quotes. and then web element, that is txt user name. So if you look at, you are going to import the respective methods. Find by, import web element. So both of them you have imported. So name, user ID we have written, and then similarly, so how did you know that name is equal to UID? So that is what I have shown you. So when you're trying to identify the element property, see here, name is equal to UID. That is the first element, that is user ID. So that is what I have written as text username. You can write it as user ID also. And similarly, you have to type for password. Just copy paste, and name, here it is password, and then text you are going to do pwd. So let's say we have done the same thing for password. Just see here. So password, name, password. And similarly, the last one is button. Okay, name btn login. So you will be writing one more thing called find element btn login, and then you will be saying click submit. So this is how you will define the elements which are there in your test, and whatever we are going to use, those elements you are going to take from that, and after that you are going to create the action which you are going to make use for that particular program. So how do you do that? That is very, very important. So first of all, you need to understand what is that element you are working with. So I am going to work with user ID. So when I'm going to work with user ID, so what I have to do, I have to write the method which is used to set the value for that particular user ID. So I'm going to write that in the same program, and after that what we are going to do is whatever the element you are using, you are going to make use of that, and then you will pass the values. Let's see one by one how do we pass that. So now you go to here, public void set username, and then you are going to write string uname, and then you are going to write whatever the web element you have, whatever the web element you have, that web element name is text dot user id dot send keys uname. So this is how you will be writing the method. So once you write the method, and then you have to write the same thing for password also. So how do you write for password? Password also you have to do the same thing. Whatever the method is there, you just simply write the password method, and then go back, and then you just copy and paste it here, and then I'm going to write one more. Just write like this. Set username, public void set username, string username. You don't need to have comma because this is the parameter you are passing, right? So now once you are done with it, now next one what we are going to do is just make sure that you give proper brackets, guys. So public void, you just take the same thing, set password, and then string pwd you can give, and here you are going to write pwd instead of this one, you'll be having txt pwd. So similarly, you are going to write one more method called public style void click submit. You will not have any parameters here. You are just simply clicking on the button. Just write click submit dot click. So you will be writing all the required methods here. This is the way you will be defining the login page for the elements, whatever the elements you have in this application, user ID, password, and then login button. So I have added all of them, and then I have written the actions which I am going to use this particular for that particular program. So now what I have to do is, so to do my first test case, as I told you earlier, so we have completed these three steps. So in the next session, we are going to see how do we create the base test and how do you add the logs, and then the rest of the things we will see.